Okay, I gathered myself a little bit so I could, get through this. So, let's return back to the whole Rick when he's in the RV. Props to the fact that it's an RV, though, because, wow. And the fact that, he's trying to get a hold of Daryl, Sasha, Abraham, Glenn, and even this guy, Tobin. Unfortunately, both Glenn and Tobin don't respond, and I will continue on why they're not responding, particularly Glenn. And pretty much later on, Rick gets ambushed by the same wolves that Morgan does not kill. He lets them go. The same wolves that attacked Alexandria, encountered Morgan. He just whacks him a little bit and tells him to leave because we have guns and you don't. And they escaped and somehow found their way to Rick in the RV home. They ambush him, and Rick ends up killing two of them inside the RV. And then from, I think the side mirror, he sees the others sneaking up next to the RV, and he literally takes a freaking machine gun and brrr, the side of the... It's like, damn, Rick! Jeez! But I understand why, so I'm not going butthurt about it, but jeez, overkill much. And once he kills the attackers, he notices in one of their pockets that the two of them that were killed in the RV, he noticed in one of their pockets, he sees the applesauce baby food thing, and he's like, shit, these guys came from Alexandria. That's what all the shit's happening in Alexandria. They ambushed Alexandria and took food. Unfortunately for Rick, the ignition won't start anymore, and he's unable to lead any more walkers away from Alexandria because he's stuck. And now the walker herd is approaching the RV, and they're he can't lead them away from Alexandria, and he can't escape the RV because they're surrounding the RV. So he's screwed. Now going back to Glenn and Nicholas and Glenn, they're scouting around and they find the building that Nicholas is like, you can set this building on fire, it'll distract them all. But once they get to the building, it's already torn down and burned to the ground. And shit, what's going on? And all around them are hordes of walkers. Left, right, front, they're just surrounded by walkers. So they have to run somewhere so they could get away from them. And they end up on top of a dumpster surrounded by walkers. And just shit hits the fan. This is where everyone is still butthurt. I am still butthurt. I am pissed. Because they're all surrounded by walkers, and Nicholas, he's all freaking out, he's like, shit, we're screwed. Because not only are we on top of this it's a fairly tall dumpster, but it's still small spaced. Width-wise, it's small, but height-wise, it's fairly tall, so they could, get away from their hands a little bit. But the entire dumpster is surrounded by a shitload of thousands of walkers, and they can't climb the fence behind them because beyond the fence are walkers. So basically, they're 360 surrounded by walkers, trapped on a small width-wise dumpster with no way out, and Nicholas freaks out, and he just turns to Glenn, says thank you, hence the title of the show. He says thank you to him, and gone. What really bugs me about that, though, is when he shoots himself, commits suicide in front of Glenn, his body, which is falling down, ends up dragging Glenn off the dumpster along with him, off the safety of the dumpster, into the horde. And what looks like where, unfortunately, Glenn is seemingly, I'm saying this because we're not really sure, but both dead, suicide Nicholas and Glenn fall down in the crowd of walkers, and seemingly Glenn is devoured by walkers. We don't know if it is true. We don't know if it's a true R.I.P. Glenn, or he managed miraculously to survive. I'm praying the latter right now. Oh my god. Because in the Talking Dead episode for Thank You, in the memoriam, they said goodbye to everyone, including Nicholas, but there was no, like, dedication goodbye to Glenn. So I don't know. I really don't know what to tell you about that. I'm still butthurt. I love Steven, and I love his character Glenn. And Maggie, oh my god. Maggie already just saw her father get beheaded in front of her, get separated from her entire family, including her sister, believing her sister to be dead, only for Daryl to tell her she's alive, but still she thinks she's dead. And then again, when they come back to the church, she hears from Michonne, Beth is alive, and they found her at a hospital. They're going to get her, only to see her dead, supposedly dead body being carried out by Daryl, and now possibly Glenn being ripped apart. Fuck, Maggie's having a really bad time. I know that in the comics, Glenn dies, but to be fair, a lot of things that happened in the comics did not happen in the show. Like, for instance, in the comics, Glenn dies, yes. But the thing is, in the comics, Carol's supposed to be dead, because in the comics, Carol dies. If I remember correctly, you could correct me if I'm wrong. In the comic book, Carol sacrifices her life against a horde of walkers so everybody else could escape. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I know she dies somehow in a heroic way. And in the comics, Carol's daughter Sophia is alive, and in the comics, Sophia is adopted by Glenn and Maggie as their own child. And then another thing, of course, Beth and Daryl do not exist in the comics, even though in the comics Maggie does have her brother Sean and has, like, other siblings. None of those siblings are Beth. So Beth is strictly a show character, and so is Daryl. Another thing that happens in the comics that has not happened in the show, Rick losing his hand And not to mention, in the comics, the reason Rick loses his hand is because the governor. And we all know the governor is already gone, right? So the comic reason for Rick losing his hand is gone, but Rick could still lose his hand. And then, my boyfriend told me that Morgan's son in the comics is still alive. You can correct him or myself if we are both wrong, but he told me that Morgan's son is still alive in the comic book. So you can correct me on that. And then, in the comics, Carl gets shot in the eye and he's still alive. So that has yet to happen too. Carl has never been shot in the eye yet. He has been shot in the show and nearly died, but he has yet to get shot in the eye and still survive. Rick has yet to still have his hand chopped off. Only difference is in the comics he got chopped off by the governor, but since the governor's already dead, there's a good chance he still will get it chopped off by someone else though. And then Carol died in the comics by sacrificing herself for protecting everybody. That has still not happened. And then what's another thing? In the comics, if I remember correctly, Rosita is dead. Because, like, spoiler alert, if you guys don't know, I'm sorry. But anyway, like, apparently, I don't know the whole story, but apparently the group sees Rosita's head on a spike near home. That's what I heard. You can correct me if I'm wrong on that, too. And, Glenn, Maggie, Daryl. Oh yeah, and another person in the comic books that is still alive in the comics, but already is killed off fairly early in the show, would happen to be, Andrea. In the comics, Andrea is still alive, and she actually had a relationship with Rick, so I don't know what to think anymore. I really don't. And the fact that Glenn is seemingly devoured by walkers really does not help me at all. So I need time to recover right now. So I will see you guys in the next video. I love you guys. Stay strong. Hope to God. Hope to damn God that Glenn is still alive, because I swear to God, I want Glenn to be alive. I really do. Even though it seems so unlikely because he fell in a horde of shitload of walkers and it looked like he was being eaten. I can't think about it. Have faith, you guys. Just have faith. Hopefully, Glenn pulls off the greatest miracle of all time. Because until I see in memoriam Glenn, I refuse to believe he's dead. So, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!